Hey, good evening. Well, a good, very wet evening. I'm just about to head out to the workshop to show you something, but you'll be pointing at the ground because it is raining quite heavily. Rightio, here we go. We were working away this afternoon and I thought I would get a little bit more done, and I have. And I also got a little bit of an update on the panels for the MFT style of top. Yeah, it's wet out there. And in this case, it's the panel which is not able to be drilled on the drill press. All the other holes to this point have been drilled, and now I've got this panel here which is 700 by 700, which means the first two rows around the edge can be drilled on the drill press, but the middle of the panel there are 9 holes that can't be. Now this is a bit of a rough and ready version of what I'd been contemplating, but it is still, which I'm really enjoying, it's still being able to use all the components thus far that I have had made up and modified to suit drilling of the holes, etc. What I've done here though is I've put it's a registration pin. I've put 2 bars together. I've put 2 of the bushings, which are 10 millimeters, which are well matched to the shaft diameter of the drill. It's really nice tolerance, and I've put them opposing each other on the 2 bars, as you can see. What that's done is doubled the amount of bushing that the drill can run in, making it very stable. I have registered together the 2 bars with, again, 2 opposing bushes, 8mm bushings this time, with the 8mm pins that I have made up, and this is an 8mm pin. Again, in there, it's going to fall through, but that's just to register them and lock the 2 panels together, or 2 strips together. That way, actually I'll just move that across to there. That way I've got a very stable base drilling jig for my drill bit and my drill. The problem having been, I'm just reaching in to get it, is that this version of it requires one hand to be held very firmly to stop it moving around, and the other hand of course on the drill. This version has it inherently stable without having to hold it very firmly with one hand. Yes, it still has to be located, and it'll still be located on the little marks that might be hard to see because this particular light's not all that good, but there's a tiny little mark in there, drill mark, that allows me to locate the tip of the drill bit itself. But once it's located, I can put downward pressure on this. Everything is still nice and stable. It doesn't rock. Can slide, but it doesn't rock. So I can quite reliably say that that is at 90 degrees to the surface. Then I can apply pressure, light pressure initially to embed the tip in the melamine, effectively locking this in place to allow me to use 2 hands on the drill. Now I can drill anywhere on a panel that's greater than 150 millimeters away from the edge. So these 9 holes, I've just drilled 3, and I was so enthused I went inside and got the camera. But this now makes it even more flexible, 0 cost, very flexible for where I wanted to go. I had initially thought about registering the bar itself, still could do, registering the bar itself with the steel pins. That is a possibility, but wanting to have the double bushings to stabilise the drill, I think is a happy compromise for, whoops, let's just get this back into place, is a happy compromise from probably a good idea of registration in each side. It also means that this can float around at will into position, and as I say, I'm just fiddling here to get that flaming pin in place because it's, as I said, this is a bit of fairly rudimentary setup, but I can float it around until the very tip locates. I can spin the drill by hand like I would normally do on the drill press to better locate it in that little mark, and then set to with the drill. So, that flame thing, that's annoying. Yeah, that allows me to complete whatever size panel I darn well like in the position it may well find itself. In this case it is just a separate panel it's just a separate panel with dimensions bigger than what I can accommodate on the drill press. So very, very happy, I've got to say. That fulfills one of the little side projects that I'd wanted to do. May make it a little bit more sophisticated than what's there, but do I really need to? You know, for the sake of the... Put it this way. This is not a production situation. This is just to get the job done. The MFT style of top up and running, and if I need to make other panels bigger than the 150 wide, etc., what I was saying, from the drill press, I can use this, assemble it, and use it. I don't have to have any special tool, or I don't have to go to any particular effort. One thing I did think about was to make drill a hole for ordinary screws or bolts to go into, just to tie everything together to make sure it's a, like a homogeneous, like a tight fit, and it can't move. It can't. These two pieces are so bound together by this particular pin, it ain't going anywhere. So even my paranoia of trying to get it exact as possible, for that precision and tolerance issue, that has been accommodated with what I've got there. So all in all, very happy camper on the MFT style of top we're making here. Also means that this is not the sort of thing that requires fine engineering, if it all works, but it's stuff that you could do in your own workshop. Maybe, as I say in another video, a previous video perhaps, you may not even have to get things laser cut. If you can be fastidious in the marking out of your piece of whatever, perhaps a bit of custom wood itself, then you may well be able to drill holes sufficiently accurately enough to make an MFT top. My approach, utilising two layers that are drilled independently of each other, that was where I've kind of tripped myself up in some way in the level of precision that I've had to achieve. Now, it hasn't been onerous or anything. It was just that, it hadn't been onerous because I wasn't aware of it or the demand, and it just turned out that the components that I've got all worked together. Mouth not working. Worked together really, really well. So, yay! Very, very happy. I'll finish that off tomorrow. I'm going back inside. It's reasonably late at night, but I just popped out here because it was the itch that needed to be scratched. I did this, trialed that, and it seemed to work. So while I was enthused, I brought yous out here to have a look and share in my jubilation. Here's the concern I've got. I'll go to all of this extent and then not use the MFT top very much. That would be annoying. That's not going to be the case. I've actually got a job for it waiting already. And that's all the stuff that's on the ground here. These looks like offcuts, which they literally were, but they are the components or the parts of the material that I want to cut down to make up a whole pile of drawers. So I need the 4 sides for the drawer and then the front. This is the very thing that I require to do that. So, yay. So that's one job. That's actually, and as I've been talking about, that panel there, and there will be a couple of others made up eventually, but that panel there is going to be the base upon which I can make jigs. So that there's 2 jigs in there I'm kind of indicating towards. They will be able to be made redundant, and they go outside, and this will take its place. When it's not being used for those sorts of jigs, it's just a panel that's on the top here, supporting which other panels that I'm cutting down. So, yay. Rightio, that's it. Keep it reasonably short. I know they do go on a bit, but once I get going, I like to exhaust the what I'm thinking of at the time, because otherwise I will darn well forget. Rightio, I'm going to go in, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Don't know when that'll be. Possibly with a wee bit more completeness, a bit of a tidy up so that you can see what the heck I'm up to, where I'm at with it. But yeah, that'll probably be the likely next video, unless something particularly noteworthy comes up. Yeah, so clear everything off, mark and drill the rest of the base layer so it can take all these other components. So yeah, okay, that's it. That's it. I'm off, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye now.